Make sense?
Yeah.
And I've been reading this book on apologetics. It's yours.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And it was talking about dualism,
Yeah.
right? On faith and reason, right? And it says that in the Western culture, he listed Christianity, Judaism, and Muslims. They consider their religion an outgoing into the government or into the sphere of public type of religion, which they do. Mm-hmm. Christ commanded us to go into all the world, preach the gospel. If that wasn't true, that it didn't go against the political system, how come Paul and all these guys were jailed by political systems? Jesus went up against the political system, right? All these things. So, but Eastern religions are more of a personal encounter. Mm-hmm. That's why you don't get involved in politics. Yeah. You don't do. So America has now reduced religion that way. They turned it into an Eastern type philosophy, when in the Western philosophy, it was to get involved and encouraged to get involved into politics. That's why separation of church and state doesn't make sense. No. That's not what the founders believed, right? But if we continuously put these Christians in a box and saying this is where you belong, and now you have the freedom to worship, not the freedom to practice your religion, then religion becomes subjective, no longer objective. It no longer becomes a salt of the earth. It just becomes a part of the earth. And that's what's been happening, right? If you continue to label, you destroy anything that person can do and what they're going to do moving forward.
And when we say it
that's
like that,
good man.
That's real good, dude. That was awesome.
That was like off the dome, man. Shoot, dude. When I was reading that, I'm like, oh my god, and I literally this makes so much freaking sense. Yeah. Dualism. It takes reason, and then it makes reason the religion, the only thing that can get involved, that can do this, but faith needs to be over here. It's just your personal thing. It's a personal encounter. That's not what Jesus said.
Which that's
really interesting you say that, because I was listening to Dr. Piro and he's talking about that reason starts to take over faith, and that's a dangerous thing.
Look at our schools. And I'm gonna sound like the stereotypical Christian.
Can we go on?
Labels.
Are we putting this back on?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm probably gonna put most of this in there. So
do it.
Because I think it's good. I'm gonna sound like the stereotypical Christian, but our schools, evolution, it's a theory. It cannot be called the law of evolution. Therefore, it is still a theory. It is a hypothesis that has not been completely proven.
Yet, if you don't believe in the theory, you're considered
stupid, wrong, unreasonable, closed-minded, faith zealot. Right?
There was a guy talking to Jordan Peterson saying, I don't want people that believe in the 6,000-year creation theory to come into my biology class.
See, right there. So reason has taken over and been perverted into its own secular. I don't even want to call it faith or religion, because that's too shallow.
Yeah, its own belief system.
Its own belief system. Good. Reason has become its own belief system.
Would dogma be the word?
Yeah, okay.
Dogma
would work. And crowded out any other options. I've really wondered this. Like, if you're so sure of evolution, you're so sure of even the timeline, like I'm not totally sold on the 6,000, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. But why not, if it's still a theory, why not have the other theories? Why are we so determined to crowd out any and all other theories? Dude. Right? For one. Oh, and that's the problem with reason. And I was listening to a debate between Jordan Peterson and I can't think of the guy's name, but it was an atheist. And this atheist kept saying, I'm skeptical. And I just want other people to be skeptical. Don't you understand? We need to question things. And the whole time I was wishing Peterson would have nailed him to it, and he didn't. And I wish what Peterson would have said is, the problem is, though, you've already come to your conclusion, and you're dressing it up as skepticism. You've already said your conclusion is there is no God. This can't be mystical, right? They were talking about mystical experiences.
Oh, yeah.
And Peterson was saying, look, we have all of this evidence, this scientific evidence that something is going on with mystical experiences. People are experiencing something that's unique. And this guy was saying, yeah, but we don't have proof that it's a mystical experience. Therefore, it's not mystical.
Yeah, see, but
you've already said there are no mystical experiences. Therefore, there is nothing that can prove to you that there could be a mystical experience.
Until you yourself have a mystical experience.
Even then, like, miracles.
Oh, I get what
You
you're
see
saying.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's just coincidence.
Yeah, exactly. C.S. Lewis made this argument of, like, it's basically a closed loop. If I say there's miracles, you say there's not. You could say there's no miracles. And I say, well, what about that lady who just got healed last week? You would say, miracles don't exist. Therefore, it wasn't a miracle that she got healed. She either didn't get healed, she's lying, or something else happened. Therefore, there are no miracles. Do you see the closed loop that just happened there?
Yep.
And that's what this guy was doing was, I want people to be skeptical. There is no God. Therefore, be skeptical of all the other stuff, but not me. Right?
You nailed it. But isn't it funny, though? The same people, like the atheists or the left, even, they always say, we don't want absolutes. There are no such thing as absolutes. So are you absolutely sure about the theory that you believe in, right? So it's like, think about it. You want an absolute theory that you can tell me that I'm wrong in what I believe because I have to take it by faith. But yet you're after an absolute concrete, you believe in the evolution theory as an absolute concrete thing. You've contradicted yourself again, because if you base yourself in that worldview, that's why you have the worldview that you have. That's why we can't come to an agreement, because your authority is in yourself instead of facts.
Yeah.
We've now chosen our own selves as authority. I agree with Ben on this one. It's hard for me to use the scripture if you're not a Christian on certain political points or all these things, because it's my authority.
Yeah.
That's where I derive it from. But I can use my brain and reason and say, dude, life is life, bruh.
And that's why I think there is a marriage between faith and reason.
Absolutely, because they correlate each other.
Yeah. If God is the God of order, and God is the God that has designed and created everything, wouldn't it stand to reason that God is logical? Or at least his process would make sense to the creation, because it's the way he set it up. It's kind of like football. There are plenty of rules in football. The rules make sense. There's a reason for each rule and why those rules are followed, right? So it doesn't matter if the game came first or the rules came first. The fact is, the rules make the game.
That's exactly right.
So reason makes the game in creation, right? Reason makes the game of, we've got God, he made reason because he made everything in order.
I got to read this quick. Where is that? Where did I read that?
The duality thing?
No. I had a paper here. Here it is.
Boy, we're on a rabbit trail right now.
I know, dude.
But I'm not going to stop it.
I think, too, what happens with labels, right, is if you continue to label, then there is no room for reason anymore.
No.
Because then you just disparage each other, right? And so what happens is, like when I was reading that thing on duality, he said in there, that's why it's such a cowardly thing for you to not challenge a person's atheistic challenge by using reason through faith. It's cowardly.
Yeah.
Because then your faith only then becomes something not applicable, which is what's been happening today. So in other words, since I don't study, since I don't understand what I'm talking about in reality, I can believe it, right? But I don't know how to apply it, which is the essence of Christianity, right? It's a cowardly thing not to answer the challenge of atheism, to prove through reason that God exists. Because you just said it. If God created all things, then, dude, he's got a brain to tell us why and how, right?
He's got an order to it.
Absolutely. The same power that made the body has the power to heal itself, right? That's why our wounds can heal themselves.
Yeah.
Well, how do you reason that? Because according to evolution, everything tends towards chaos and disorder and falls apart. Houses fall apart. It's funny because as we get older, right, but we can still regenerate ourselves. We get ourselves cut. We heal up, right? How does that work? Like, you can tell me scientifically, but all that does is proves to me that God is so good and real, right? I'm not closed off to the fact that science and the medical advances have been like, wow, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All that, but all those medical advances prove that we have a complicated, sovereign God. Very complicated, because all the nerve endings that we have and the vein systems and the structure and the cardiovascular and the heart and all these things, the brain, how it works. And, without certain, amounts of oxygen, it'll die and all these, like just the way we're complex creatures.
Yeah.
It's so hard for me to believe that we happen by sheer chance.
And
right?
Science can't answer the question why. It can answer the question how. You get what I mean?
I get it.
Faith answers the why.
Amen. Wow.
And that's the problem when people say science disproves God. What you're really saying is you've journeyed into the why territory that you're not supposed to be in.
Truth, right? But again, let's get back to this. So, because we were kind of on a rabbit trail, but it in essence it wasn't, right? If we continue to label, you are hampering the person's ability to crack or succeed from where they're at. I can promise you. Yeah. If all I see is kids in slums, and then I say, man, those kids will never make it. They're another statistic. They will never succeed. If all I see is people saying, and they're racist, that white person eventually, and it could go for any race, right? But I'm just going to use whites as an example. If you support Trump, blah, blah, you're a racist, right? If you continue to do that, you're only making his heart harder. Now, he's got to make his own choice, but you're making their hearts harder to even love. Mm-hmm. Why do that? Why can't you just say, man, look, we disagree, but bro, we're the same. We're on the same planet trying to live the same life, the same quality of life and make that money to feed our kids. We may disagree in politics, but man, I can still be your friend.